Longevity Lifestyle Designers. This is Gavin here with secretsoflongevity.com. As promised, I am about to make a recipe involving coffee. The water is just coming to a boil, and that's perfect because I was just learning about how the temperature of the water you use when you make coffee, or even most herbal teas for that matter, if you're talking about just things that steep for a short period of time, you don't want to have it at the boiling temperature. This has a tendency for a lot of plants that are made into teas, or in this case coffee. It pulls out certain tannins and other factors, which is not the most ideal factor in terms of the flavor, but it also can often have a slightly negative health side effect. So in the case of coffee, the compounds, I'm not sure if they're tannins exactly, but there's things that come out when it's right at boiling. If you were to just boil water and pour it directly on the coffee, that has a negative impact on your health. It's often associated with these factors. It's actually these oily compounds that are more closely associated with heart disease. In a few studies that do show coffee increases your risk for heart disease, but when the type of boiling is accommodated for by letting it just cool down for a minute. So I'm actually just going to turn this water off that's just boiled, take it off the heating element, and let it sit there for a minute with the lid off the pot. And that's going to be at the perfect temperature, around 93 to 96 degrees Celsius. That will be ideal for brewing the coffee. So right away I'm just going to grab our coffee here, because it's going to be ready shortly. And we're going to do a double shot of espresso. This is the AeroPress is an espresso maker. And we're going to do something else that's pretty unique and add an herb in with the coffee to steep, because the method in which we're making this is you let it sit in the water for almost like a French press. This is almost like a mini French press, but it's actually for making espresso. But it needs to sit there for that period of time. So this whole recipe is geared towards improving hormone levels of both progesterone and testosterone. Progesterone more primarily for women, testosterone for men, but also lowering estrogen levels. So we'll be talking about the theme of a lot of these things we're adding in here, which are methyl donors, or they help the methylation process in the body, and they help feed our good hormones that we want to build up in the body. Now, the one thing I'm adding in that to go with the coffee, because I don't have it in an extracted form, is passion flower. Passion flower has the unique ability of binding and helping carry out excess estrogen in the body. So a lot of people think of estrogen and they think female hormone, but it's actually a hormone that both men and women produce. You need a certain amount of it. Don't use it overly if you're around the age of puberty, but especially for women. But after the age of puberty, estradiol, being the most potent type of estrogen, is most closely linked in with cancers, stress in the body, and all sorts of things. So we're doing a half a scoop, which is 1 tablespoon, of the passion flower powder. It's not an extract, so it needs to be made into a tea. So we're just simply going to do it straight in there with the coffee, because it needs the same brewing time, exact same procedure to get the medicinal compounds out of it. So that water is now cooled down. Briefly before I actually make it, I'll describe what this thing is. The AeroPress, it's by many considered to be the best way to make coffee in terms of getting the best flavor, having the ease of it to clean. There's probably some industrial type coffee makers that make it better, so to speak, and have the best flavor. But this is really easy. It's BPA free, so unfortunately it is plastic, but it can withstand the hot temperature. Everything seems to indicate it's safe to use. And what I'm demonstrating here is actually the reverse method, which I have upside down. And essentially you've got these little paper filters, and they sit in here. It actually needs to be wet a little bit. And if you're making it the regular method, that would be sit this way, and you actually have the whole thing flipped upside down, so all the coffee grounds would be sitting against the filter. You'd put it over your cup, you'd pour the hot water in, and then you would let it steep, and then plunge it, because this is actually a plunger that's on the bottom here. And that forces the coffee through without the grounds, obviously. But the issue with that is that when it's sitting there with the water on it, it actually starts already dripping through, so that whatever drips through is not steeped. So to be really specific and get all the liquid that's in there steeping with the coffee and anything else you have in here, we're going to use the reverse method, which is pretty simple to do. I've been talking for a little bit, so I'm actually going to get this a little bit hotter again, just to satisfy that coffee connoisseur anal specificity to details, I guess. What else can I talk about while it's reheating? It's essential that you use, in my opinion, organic fair trade coffee. This is a medium to dark roast, just from my local coffee shop here, Planet Bean Coffee. And yeah, it's certified fair trade organic. So the other thing we need to do is actually just wet the filter on here just a little bit to make sure that it stays in place as the coffee is being made. That's not going to go on until we're finished letting that steep. So we're just going to drop a few bits of water on here to make it stick in place. So obviously the paper is now pressed up against the little holes that are in the bottom of this filter. By the way, AeroPress, if you're watching me make this, get on making a glass press, because I know there's a lot of people out there that would prefer that glass with a metal bottom. Paper filters are great. Maybe make some non-bleached ones would be ideal if you really want to hit the health market, because there's a lot of health enthusiast people getting turned on to using coffee because it's so clearly a healthy addition to people's lifestyle at this point that we understand it scientifically. But water is definitely at the ideal temperature, and we're simply going to add it in. I've seen people brewing this in different ways, like doing it half full, letting it sit for a second, and adding more. I don't know if that's actually specific in terms of doing anything, but we're just going to fill it right to the top. Now it is obviously not going to be as strong as an espresso shot would be, but I want enough liquid in there that we can have the PASSIONFLOWER also do its thing. Now this is a stir stick that comes with the AeroPress. When it's the other way, it's actually the exact perfect length that when you stick it inside this thing, and this is already screwed on, it doesn't actually touch the filter, so you can stir it without it scraping up the filter and obviously causing grounds to come through into your coffee. But it also is good for this method, although not essential. You could use a spoon if you didn't want to stick plastic into your hot water. The other thing I wanted to mention, which I just learned, is that any coffee made through a filter, as opposed to through any kind of metal filter or done the classic style, which is letting coffee grounds sit at the bottom, the filtration process actually removes some of those compounds, once again, that have the slight possibility of having slight negative health effect. And that's the reason why I think the AeroPress is so good in terms of its health effects, as well as making great coffee, is that addition of the paper filter gives you those extra benefits. You just want to get into the corners and make sure there's none of the herbs or the coffee stuck in there. And it's been steeping about, you want to let it steep 30 seconds to a minute. I like to pour just a little bit more water onto the stick just to get all the bits off of it back into the canister. Throw it in the sink, and we're going to simply, like that. Another thing that comes with the AeroPress is this thing. So if you had a smaller cup, like an espresso shot cup, you put that there, you flip that over, or start it like that, and it just simply funnels it through. We're not going to use that because we have a cup right here, and simply, the easiest way is actually to put the cup on first, and just flip it right around. And then it's just a matter of slowly plunging it down over the course of 30 seconds. You have a bit of air in there. You want to make sure there's a bit of air in there, because that, when you get to the end, helps force all the water that's left in the grounds out into the cup itself. And because there's so much in there, there's not going to be a huge amount of stuff left to come through, as there's just so much solid in there. We're reaching the end of it. And that air will actually escape out through the sides a little bit. Now you have it. Put it in the sink. It's a very small amount, but it's very concentrated in terms of its medicinal properties and what's actually in there. We're going to add that to our blender, because we are making a whole drink here. We're going to add the rest of the hot water I made into the blender. So we've got simply a cup and a half of liquid, so it's not going to be a massive drink. This is just going to be something to satisfy our craving for perhaps the morning drink. And we're going to add these other components to give it its other medicinal properties. So we're not actually adding any dairy to this. This is BPA-free can for coconut milk, very thick. I'm going to add about quarter cup to half a cup. That was a quarter cup, not a half cup, of the coconut milk. And this is great for building hormones. You know the benefits of coconut oil, I'm sure, or coconut milk. Very rich in minerals. If you're concerned about the slight acidity of coffee, this can offset that because obviously coconut is very alkaline. Next we're going to add about 2/3 of a shot glass of carob chips. I want to get those in sooner because they'll help melt with the heat. So this might have cooled down by the time we actually get around to drinking it. We're going to add a few more herbs here. We're going to add some hoshu, which is a yin jing tonic I add in almost every recipe you see me do here. It's very rich in zinc. Adding a little bit more than that. 1/4 to half teaspoon. Actually probably closer to a full teaspoon. We're going to use the rest of this Mucuna pruriens. So more on hoshu can be found just by searching hoshu on my channel. You can see it up on the screen here if you want to learn more about that. The next 2 herbs we're going to add because I'm making this drink for me. As a male, I want to be focused on testosterone boosting effects. If you're a female, I'd suggest using maca and chasteberry, otherwise known as Vitex, as an alternative to these 2. Or you could be working on testosterone as a woman, because some women do need to increase that for various reasons. It's great for really clear, healthy looking skin. So Mucuna is great in that it is very boosting to dopamine levels, much like coffee is. That helps with testosterone, and there's numerous other things going good for it. You can also find out more about Mucuna by searching it on my channel. You see the words up on the screen there. I'm going to add a little bit of tribulus, a very popular herb for testosterone, about the same amount that we're adding of the hoshu, of about 1/2 to 2/3 of a teaspoon. And you can find both Mucuna and hoshu in the links below at a great site from Hyperion Herbs. Tribulus, there's lots of sources online for it. I don't have a specific favorite. I just got this from a friend. We're also going to add a pinch of salt for flavor. This is just sea salt from New Zealand. And we'll add a little bit of stevia for sweetness, but also some xylitol. That's about 2/3 to 1 full teaspoon, adding a little bit more there. And of course the xylitol. These are just sweeteners that don't have a glycemic load to them. If you prefer maple syrup, honey, straight up cane sugar perhaps, then go ahead and do that. Adding 2 spoonfuls of that. So we have the coffee, which is a methyl donor. We have the hormone boosting herbs, but we want a few more methyl donors. We're also going to add 1 handful of goji berries. That's actually the rest of it in this bag. This also gives the drink a bit of substance, a bit of protein, not a ton. To thicken it up, we're actually going to add also 1 tablespoon of chia seed, which, as you know from me talking in the past, it's rich in magnesium, many other types of minerals. It's also very rich in soluble fiber, which helps bulk up the drink. I'm just going to add 2 scoops, which is about, this size spoonful would be 1 tablespoon. And last but not least, I had it hiding in behind here, we're going to add some fresh bee pollen. It's frozen, but I mean it's fresh in that it hasn't been dehydrated. If you ever have the chance to get fresh bee pollen, jump at the chance. It's delicious. It's like nothing else. Very dense in nutrition. I'll put a link below of an article I've written about it if you want to learn more about the vast amount of mineral, vitamin, and other nutritional factors that are going for it that is so amazing. It's one of the most complete foods on the planet. Also has some methyl donors. It also has some steroidal compounds, which again is going to be great for progesterone, DHEA, testosterone, and all those other youthening things that we want to increase in our bodies. So again, I'm adding about 2 scoops, which is about a tablespoon. And then that is it for the ingredients. So next we just simply throw the lid on and zip it up. So that we have it. That smells good. No chocolate necessary in this drink. So we're going to pour that in. Just actually give it a sip to see if I need to alter it in any way. That is perfect. The bee pollen is actually the dominant flavor. That's interesting. It might look very muddy on the camera, but it actually has a bit of a golden look to it because of the bee pollen. So I'd maybe add a touch less if you don't want such a strong bee pollen flavor. Basically tastes like flower pollen with a bit of honey mixed in. It's still a great flavor, and you definitely taste the coffee in with that. And this is one very powerful nutrient-dense drink. Definitely experiment at home. I want to hear all about it in the comments below. What kinds of things you do with coffee. You just drink it straight. In the previous video I did right before this one, which I'll link to right here, or you can, this might be a video response to this one, is that you learn all about health benefits of it. You know that coffee helps the absorption of other things it's consumed with. So, in my opinion, one of the best ways to consume coffee is with other herbs, which is going to help rapidly pull it into our whole body and get all those nutrients, polyphenols, other medicinal compounds right into each and every cell possible. Now, if you want to make one additional change to the drink, you know, it might be tasting really good, but you just need that extra touch. One more thing you can do is if it still hasn't totally cooled off, so before it gets cool, you want to start drinking it. That'll make it a hipster drink, but you need the addition of logging on Instagram, taking a picture of yourself while drinking it, or just taking a picture of the mug itself. That seems to get the most views. It's pretty ridiculous. I'll take a great picture of myself, but the ones when I just simply take a picture of the coffee I'm drinking gets easily 10 times the number of likes and other things like that. So, there's a half decent one. So, you can add me on Instagram if you haven't done that yet. You can see it on the screen here. I'm also vlogging, you may not know. And that Instagram account, you know, it's not health related, it's just me posting whatever. There's going to be some health stuff, some random stuff, some stuff that might make you question what it is I'm doing, teaching about health perhaps, but it's all stuff I've talked about openly in my videos in the past. So with that, check out the links below, because I've got some affiliates to a lot of these products which help support me in continuing putting out such great content. I also want to hear your thoughts about what you do with coffee, if you do it in recipes, if you just drink it on its own, etc. And like, favorite, and share the video if you feel so inclined. So with that, take care, embrace life without limits.